Hi, hello, and welcome to yet another Expat. This is episode 75, recording as always from my room here in Berlin. How are you doing? Are you embracing the beautiful winter that's coming to take us all? Are you still believing in your summer clothes, or have you packed it all up for good? Are you counting the days until Christmas or hating it that it was Halloween already? Whether you are making the plans for the holiday season or embracing all the different ways that this world can come to an end, from the AI superintelligence taking over or Trump pressing the wrong button, we're all in this together. As always, if things get tough, push your tongue on the top of your mouth, keep it up there for a bit, lose that tension in your jaw, and tell, "Sorry, I don't have time for this," to the people who need to hear it. Now, the first update that I bring, I have been spamming the hell out of things on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. I've been posting shorts, reels, and all of that minimum once a day for a week. Now, if you have no idea about this, that's great. It's only being done to get people here in this podcast. But if you had the chance or bad luck to see the content I've been frantically producing, then thank you for your understanding. It went wild. I am close to being the AI slop machine I hated. It's my own voice, it's segments of this podcast. Everything else on top is generated, and I've been able to pre-program all of these posts to all of the different social media. So with very little time effort, I get to have a lot of reach. But I don't know if I'm ready to be famous, because people are hating. And, hate is one of the strongest emotions to drive you into actions. That's why everyone on the internet is so hating each other in the comments, and so dry and so sharp and so nasty and so mean. And I get it. I've been seeing it. But I remember as a millennial when the internet started to be the place for the loners, the place to find solace from whatever was happening in your life, and a place to connect and meet people and get scammed and get offered sexual stuff you don't want. It's all in the mix, but it was definitely more calm. Same chances of getting unsolicited pictures, yes. But now it feels like an arena where everyone is slapping each other. I think it has made the world a difficult place. So I had this example. For whatever reason, YouTube Shorts are working really well. I'm getting hundreds and hundreds of views in things I post there. But the previous episode, I talked about the book ban that is happening in US in some specific counties, in some of the schools. And I got about 1,000 people there and a lot of comments, some of them calling me a leftist propagandist, and, Trump supporters were offended, telling me that I'm a citizen of Germany and I should tell them what's the right way to burn books, or saying that it's the right call to not allow pornographic books in elementary schools. And just by me saying this sentence, I'm demonetized and shadow banned from everything. But it was so wild to me that the To Kill a Mockingbird, 1984 by George Orwell, books that are very clearly criticizing the mechanisms with which oppressing society systems can work, is the same to them as porn. So yeah, I had this comment saying, attacking me and my character, saying, "You are not the real expat, you sound German." And I'm like, is that an insult? Is that I'm not German because my English sounds German, so I'm pretending to be what exactly? These books are not banned here, someone said, and I was wondering, wow, the usage of the word here must be something very specific to you. Are you talking about your living room? About your room? But in any case, it does seem that some people believe a book like 1984 is the same as a book on porn, or the book that the most hated person from Germany wrote. You know that guy? That very, very bad guy? he wrote a book about his stuff. So they told me, yeah, would you give your children to read porn or the book of the guy who killed millions of Jews? And I'm like, how is this the same as a book like 1984? I'm happy I don't have their brains. I have mine. Still a lot of things to call downsides from that. But these were interesting interactions, which made me think, I don't know if I'm ready to be famous. Imagine this podcast becomes famous, everything that I spit out of my mouth. Can I handle all sorts of people saying their short and long things in the comments? This is a Greek expression. Can I take it? All the people haters? Will there be a small army of my own Swifties to go fight them while I sit back and watch? Well, in any case, thank you that you are here. If you saw all of that content I've been putting out, my apologies. It needs to continue because this podcast needs to grow, because I need to test my ability to have more people listening and liking or disliking what's happening. If you don't follow my social but you're here, you're the best person. Put the social away. Tune in once a week. And for anyone who's new, you're probably wondering, when is this podcast going to start? So let's do that now. Now, this first piece of news I'm bringing, it's really one of those where I cannot be decided whether I hate it or like it. I definitely enjoy the ingenuity. So there are different ways to finance your way, right? If you need money for something, you can, get a job. That's a good one. You can ask your friends and family. You can go tell the Christmas carols in Greece, 3 different occasions every winter. This is how we made our money. And then there are more complex things. People are doing crowdfunding, or maybe you can get a sponsor. If you have something worth sponsoring, right? Unlike this podcast. And some things are expensive. Marriage is so expensive. Some people say they need to save up for years in order to do a wedding. And it shouldn't have to be like that, right? Well, this is what Renouf thought. He is a startup founder from France. And he decided that he will fund his marriage. Now, how would he do that? He had this brilliant or horrible idea. He said, I will be wearing a tuxedo, and on that tuxedo, I will put 26 placeholders for companies to advertise. So he went to a tailor and he put out his wedding suit with all the different locations for companies to advertise and told them, hey, this is how it's going to go. It was tech startups and AI startups, software tools, and they paid to get their logo on his suit. So this actually happened. And that photo, I need to put it somewhere. Maybe I need to make an episode image just for this episode so you can see. I'm sure he will be happy if I give him some more publicity. But he did get married looking like a patched up version. What makes us look nice, amongst other things, is the uniformity, right? It's clean, it's lean. It has cuts and folds, and it shines or not. There is no way you can get a suit with 26 company logos and not look ridiculous. Now, I have to say he looks a little bit less ridiculous than I would have thought. But nevertheless, Dagobert Renouf, of course you are a startup founder. What else could you be? It seems like you've made a great science out of how to convince people to give you their money for dumb ideas. But hat off to you and some clapping, because it seems like you did it. And now this can only start a new world of possibilities. Here I am thinking right now, you've seen cars that have advertisement, right? Bolt cars, Uber cars, Miles cars, or even cars of someone who has a pet shop, a company. So it's not a problem to put stuff on your car. Now, I would love to get a car But here in Germany, they're a bit expensive. So what if I divide my future car's outer space in 50 different squares and start selling these squares online for companies to advertise? They get to sponsor my car. I get to get the car. There's this movie called Idiocracy. It's a great movie. It's from 2006. I might have referenced it once or twice. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch. It will be painful because the movie's from 2006, and if you haven't noticed, the attention span has dropped 1,000,000% since then, and the narratives and the movies, you will be impatient the entire time, almost any movie you watch, if it was shot 20 plus years ago, 15 plus years ago, 10 plus years ago. But in Idiocracy, which could very well describe a lot of things happening today in the world, one of the things this population does is that they've stopped having clothes. They're not able anymore to produce clothes or to wear clothes, and there are vending machines that every day print you a new set of clothes that is sponsored by a company. Idiocracy is a movie that takes place in a sci-fi future in which the total IQ of the planet has decreased so much that things are barely working. Someone who was frozen in time, being very, very stupid in his own time, is now the most intelligent person in the planet, and they asked him to solve a lot of things. You don't need to know the entire premise, but it's the future. Things are weird, tech, but the society has really turned into a blob that cannot think, cannot act, cannot do basic stuff. So they had this concept. Every day, you go to that machine, you pull out the new clothes of the day, and they come with printed advertisement everywhere from head to toe. And this is how people get dressed there. And how far away is that from getting 25, 26 company logos on your clothing? So that's the first one. I mean, I've heard stories of people who would tattoo a brand on their face just to get lifelong discounts. I've heard of people that even tattoo the stamp of a club on their hands to just go in for free. I get that a bit more. Take that as a food for thought for what could be your thing. And this is probably one of the biggest wins of the brand, right? Wearing a t-shirt that has a huge logo of the brand. You are a walking advertisement for them. This is what you are. They've managed to make you being a walking advertisement something that is considered cool for you as well, which is one of the greatest wins of corporate marketing. Now, in other news, but not going too far away from ability, IQ, and the rest, we had this beautiful moment. I mean, I could be running a 24/7 podcast on Donald Trump and his shenanigans, but here's one from last week that I'm sorry I cannot bypass. I cannot not say this. So Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he talks a lot. And I think many times he goes way off script and gives these beautiful gems and nuggets. Now, last week, he apparently confused a dementia screening that he had, a dementia test for memory, and thought that it was a very hard IQ test. And he started bragging about the results. In a very embarrassing public moment, he referred to a dementia assessment while telling reporters about how he got perfect score on an IQ test that he had undergone. His IQ test apparently had him selecting different animals, a tiger, an elephant, and a giraffe, and giving him 5 words to remember and to repeat later, which sounds like one of the most difficult IQ tests. It's more or less what we're doing with our 9-month toddler right now. But this was a beautiful moment. He challenged the Democratic people to also take the exam, and he predicted there is no way they could do as well as he had. I dare them to do the IQ test that I did. The first couple questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe. You know. Oh yes, Donald, of course, we know. We know how you need to point to what is an animal. here's the person holding the nuclear codes and half of the planet's fate. So for him, a 10-minute assessment to identify signs of dementia or Alzheimer's is a very difficult IQ test he did, and he gets to brag about it. Now, aside from the jokes that write themselves, so I don't need to make the jokes here, I think there are two notes that I find interesting. One is, either he genuinely thinks that a dementia test, a memory test he's doing, is a very hard IQ test, which is very concerning. Please someone give him an actual IQ test and embrace for impact. Or he is so difficult to work with that his people that need to assess if he is suffering from dementia or not. This is something that they should probably know, right? Being in the position of power that he is. And it's mandatory to be taking a test like this. But I could imagine that perhaps they didn't tell him specifically that it's a dementia test, because then he would not take it. So maybe they tried to lure him like a little child getting candy in doing these tests, thinking it's an IQ test and he's acing it. Both of these scenarios are scary. If he thinks a 10-minute Alzheimer's assessment is a difficult IQ test, or if his people are misleadingly making him think he's making a test just so that he cooperates. Now, the second thing that I find interesting is that Trump had also previously bragged about his performance on the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. It's a different dementia screening that is administered by clinicians, and it's, again, not intended to test for intelligence. Now, what does this mean? It means that he has been doing dementia tests in the past. So if you have someone who has been doing tests to see if he has something, and then continues to have tests, then it's very likely that he is being monitored to how well he's doing on the condition, not on whether he has it or not. Do you know what I mean? I have a hearing problem, done a hearing test. The reason I keep doing hearing tests is because the first one showed I have a hearing problem, and now we need to know how bad the problem is. So keep on doing your IQ tests, Trump. We're very happy, as the rest of the world, that you are able to do the giraffe, tiger, elephant part. We're very proud that you can reach all the way to question 10 and 20 and 25 and remember 5 words in a row. Our humble intelligence is barely able to comprehend the difficulties, the tests and the challenges a great mind like yours has to take. And now, as a side note, if you didn't know, Trump also demolished the East Wing, I think, of the White House, because he's making a ballroom like the one that big dictators have, so you can have everything in gold and feel superior. He's building one of those. He said no one would have to pay for it. His sponsors would pay for it. His sponsors being Lockheed Martin and Palantir and other defense military companies that for some reason are willing to pay millions and millions to make him a golden ballroom. Eventually, he had to admit that there will be at least 100 million coming from taxpayer money in order to actualize his dreams for gold and greatness, so he can host his other rich and powerful friends without having to walk too much outside of the White House. And on a last quick note, if you didn't know this is a thing, it is, and it's not a joke. Trump will be hosting UFC White House. Now, UFC is the ultimate fighting championship. It's a championship of mixed martial arts, where people beat the living hell out of each other, full of blood, sweat, screams and yelling. So there will be a UFC championship taking place in the White House. It's really unprecedented times we are having, and Idiocracy could not be a better movie to watch because it predicted that the winner of a wrestling match is the new president of the United States. We're almost there. This will be happening to commemorate the 25th. This will be to celebrate the anniversary of the United States. United States becomes 250 years old. Quite a young little fella. And what better way to honor than having a mixed martial arts UFC championship taking place in the White House. But to change a little bit the topic, we're not leaving world news. People can have their dreams, whether it is a golden ballroom inside the White House, whether it is a UFC championship. But sometimes it's difficult to put reality in comparison to reality, because in this version of the universe we're living, I told you how Albania brought the first AI minister. I will not go into that again, but there is an AI minister in Albania. The Albanian PM Edi Rama had announced that. So this is not the news. The news is that a few months after, Albanian PM Edi Rama has now announced that the AI minister, Djela, is pregnant. Yeah, the dude came out and said she's pregnant and is expected to give birth to 83 AI children. I cannot even believe what I'm reading. These 83 new AI children will assist the socialist members of the parliament in Albania's legislature. So of course, this is just some PR bullshit to make Albania appear AI friendly to potential tech bro investors. But this is probably too much, even for the tech bros. This is, as someone said on Reddit, this is more like AI psychosis that it seems this guy is having. So he was there thinking, okay, we did the AI minister, we now need to do more. The rest of the world is asking, hey, how can you use more AI in your job? Learn to use AI, whether it is one of the LLMs, you get to talk to them, and every position needs to now have an AI counterpart to get things done faster. So he thought, okay, I need to make the parliament people use AI. But this is not a story. This is not selling. And I already introduced an AI minister, Djela. She's a beautiful AI woman that I have there. I don't want to make her any less. Now that I will say that there will be all these AI assistants for everyone. I need to complete the narrative. And then he thought about it. What if the AI minister was pregnant? I have to say, Eddie, who did impregnate your AI minister? Did you impregnate your AI minister? Was it a divine act? Was it like one of these pregnancies we must not question how it happened? It was just there. And now we need to accept the miracle of life, the new 83 little saviors that are coming to help your government. And don't get me wrong, everything in life is storytelling. And this is a prime example of even bad storytelling is still good storytelling. Like, a story like this is far better than having no story at all. Much as I hate it, I have to say this was comedy gold. I cannot wait for the AI minister and her 83 children to continue to grow. I hope now that the children will not be making relationships with each other, because that would kind of come in the way of the whole AI being intelligent concept, wouldn't it? We need to keep these 83 children separated, Eddie. This is your next step. When you bring the next AI, you need to think of a way that we don't have any incest happening. Perhaps you can ask another country, maybe Italy. I know you like the prime minister there, to maybe give you their own AI minister or some sort of AI, and then use that for growing your family. But thank you for a good story, Eddie. And if you ever take down the AI minister, you will probably have the uprising of her 80 plus children. So, you know what? You did this to yourself. You started that whole mix. So good luck untangling that mess. Now I will wrap it up with a few quick news. In Germany, the Deutschland ticket for public transport pass will be rising to 63 euros in 2026, and then it will be index linked from 2027. And also it does look that many German graduates are finding first jobs to be much harder to land. I would say no surprise there. Even people with degrees are having a hard time. We know that would happen, especially with the AI. Those are the jobs that will suffer the most in the next 5 or so years, in my opinion, until unis catch up to bring AI-ready graduates that can do things in the workplace. But there is a big supply of graduates now in Germany, more than the previous years. The fields with the highest graduates are law, economics, social sciences, and then followed by engineering. So for all of these people, the competition will be a bit more intense for junior roles and traineeships. Now, people come to Germany to find a job. Now, well, where will the Germans go? That's a question. But if you are planning to go to Greece, especially the Germans, please note that you might not have a post office that is very much needed here in Germany, because in Greece, the National Post Office announced that it's closing down 204 of its branches in just a couple of days. That was it. Just a quick announcement that basically said it would be reducing almost 40% of the branches that exist. And you know, Greece is quite decentralized. There are some people there that don't know how to do things digitally. Maybe they're not able to drive. Maybe they're not able to move. So closing 204 post branches is going to paralyze half the country. Did they think about it? Not really. They're saying that they are not making money, and this is why they need to close down. I would say that being able to have post services is a civil right and a social right that should be provided to the people, not some sort of pristine prize only for those who are able and capable. Not a very bad idea for the exoskeletons I was thinking to buy or invest in. Maybe I can start selling them to all the old people in the Greek countries and countryside, so they're able to go to the nearest post office after their local ones will shut down. This seems to be happening in Greece with no organizational plan, no efforts to first make things better. It's just a big hard cut, 40% down, announced just a few days in advance. But I think somewhere here we'll be closing for today. Thanks for your patience over my social media journey. And remember, if you're out of money, you can always sell a space for advertising somewhere you never thought about. Yourself, your head, your car, your backpack. If you feel under the weather, you want to feel better about yourself, go do a dementia test. Imagine it's this very difficult IQ test when you nail it. And if your AIs are having sex, remember to use protection so you don't end up like Albania and Edi Rama with his new 83 AI children. Now, I was me, you were you. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week for a mixture of random thoughts, comments, and news from this wild world. Until then, ciao!